Tell us a little bit about where you're from, the city of Faribault.
How I got to Faribault is a pretty interesting story. I'll try to keep it short. I know we're limited on time. But my oldest son almost died of spinal meningitis. From that result, he went deaf at age 3. And ever since about 6 or 7, he's always wanted to come down to Faribault to be in the deaf community. Was the deaf schools there. And in 8th grade, we let him come down by himself. We're still in Bemidji at the time. And came down in 8th grade, had a tremendous successful year. And we were fortunate enough to be able to move between his 8th and 9th grade year and keep the family together. And that's how I ended up in Faribault. Just have been a great experience, a great town, great people, just really good experience.
And can you just tell us a little bit more about the people? What issues are important to them?
You know, it's actually a pretty quiet district. Probably one of the biggest things I hear right now is the health insurance crisis. I mean, we used to be the leader in health insurance 8, 9, 10 years ago, and now we are just not. And we've been working this last 3 years to try to pass some legislation, I know, to make it easier. We've got some funding for single-payer Blue Cross Blue Shield recipients and those type of things, and hopefully we can get it approved across the state lines. But I think health insurance has been the biggest, because that affects small farmers. I had a friend of mine that went from $600 or $700 a month premiums, eventually up to $2,500 a month premiums, and his deductible from $1,000 to over $13,000, the maximum, whatever that is, $13,200 or something like that. So his out-of-pocket expense would have been $48,000 before insurance paid the first penny. So we did get some help to those people. There have been many groups started since then, and he actually is part of another group, and in premiums down to about $700. His deductible is, I believe, at $5,000. So much better than what he was. But that's the stuff we want to start to do, is reintroduce stuff that used to be here 8, 9 years ago.
So that's one of the things you'll attempt to focus on in the 2018 session coming up here.
Yep, we've done, I think, 5 bills to help get us back to a good place with health insurance, and there's still a lot of work to be done. And also the federal government has to sign off on some of the propositions that we've made, the things we want to do. It's actually passed the House, and I believe it's passed the Senate, but we have to get federal approval to implement it. So that's kind of exciting. I mean, it's exciting to take something that's totally broken and see if we can put it back together again, kind of Humpty Dumpty, you know.
So you mentioned on your Facebook page, after I saw a few pictures, you were shaking hands with former page and students, and you mentioned that the future will be in good hands. Why do you think that is, and why do you think it's important for students to be involved and aware of politics?
You know, I was so excited. This is my 3rd year, so I've had 3 different pages. They're all bright, ambitious, and one of them really didn't have any connection with politics at all. And that was my one this year. And she said, I'm overwhelmed. She's really interested in it. She may not go into politics, but her eyes were open to how the system works and the procedures. And you know, we have some really good people here. The typical media will focus on the bad things that happen at the Capitol. And I understand that bad news sells, but there's so many good things that happens. You know, Bible studies on Monday before session, another men's Bible study Wednesday mornings, and just the camaraderie, the teamwork that goes into it, and not just even one side of the aisle. It goes to extends to both sides of the aisle, and that's what I enjoy. And then unfortunately I see some of the bad behavior, and I think it's as I'm learning, it's only my 3rd year, so I'm still learning, but it's mostly to position themselves for the next campaign, and I don't like that part of it. I love what I do. I love helping people. I love, you know, learning new things, getting to meet new people, like our page program. And James was our page, I think, in the picture, who was from Kenya, came to be a page here for the year. A day or 2 after he left, he got married, and then he wants to go to Duke University and be a missionary. I mean, what an honorable thing to do. And then go back to Kenya and try to help his homeland to be better, just improve his homeland. So, I mean, the stuff I get to see and people I get to meet is just amazing, a blessing.
You're married, you have a family, and even grandchildren. What has that process been like for them supporting you in your role as a state legislator?
You know, it was scary for us. I'd never been in politics before. The only thing I can relate even close to that was northern Minnesota, a town called Bagley. Both my sister, Representative O'Neill, and myself graduated from Bagley. And while I was there, I was involved like a hockey coach. I ended up being the president of the hockey board for a little while. And then I was also on the school board. So school board was the only thing that I ever ran for. And that detailed one little ad in the paper, and I was on the school board. This is so much different, so much bigger. But my family's been behind me, you know, 100%. My kids, most of them been in the parades, fundraisers. My wife, hats off to my wife, during January till end of May, she's a single person at home. I mean, we're gone from Sunday night till probably at the earliest Thursday night, Friday night, or sometimes Saturday. And so if it snows a foot and I'm up here, you know, she's got to figure out how to get the driveway shoveled and plowed and taken care of, and just, you know, the everyday things, the paying the monthly or the paying the bills, and you know, just all that daily stuff. So she's been really, really good, and I appreciate her very much.
You mentioned your sister as Representative Marion O'Neill. What's it been like working with her here at the House?
You know, it's been a blessing, and she started here as a staffer in the Senate, and I believe that was around 8 or 9 years ago. And then she's been this will be her 5th year, I believe, in the House. So she's got the experience, she's got the knowledge of how the system works, she's got the knowledge of who's here, and it's been such a blessing to me to just kind of get her advice sometimes. You know, what direction do I go? And I think the biggest piece of advice I got from her, I was my first month here, and I would be in 4 different committee meetings during the day. I'd have about 15 appointments during the day, and about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, things would kind of slow down. So then I'd open up my computer and go on all the bills that were introduced that day, or maybe in the last couple of days. So I'd be here till 10 or 10:30, and Marion would come over and say, "What are you still doing here?" I said, "Well, I've got to go through the bills and this and that." I was telling her what I was thinking about, and she said, "You know, if it's not in one of your 4 committees, you just have to let it go. You just don't have time. And then you got to focus on your district. So, you know, concentrate on your district and your 4 committees, and just try to, you know, shrink that focus down a little bit." And that really helped. Now I had, you know, more time to spend on the things that I should be spending time on. Simple thing, but you know, when you're here, you literally in the morning have 100 different directions you can go. And during those 100 different directions, there's probably 6 to maybe 20 different avenues for each one of those directions. So to focus down on maybe 20 of those is very, very, you know, helpful.